Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in. The show starts right now.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. The guy to my right is Evo, and we are back Friday afternoon. We don't typically do Friday shows. It's normally a Saturday thing, but schedules are crazy. We got a lot of shit going on in our lives, so we are here on a Friday trying to bring you guys some irreverent sports content. And I'm excited for today's show, man. We got a ton of shit to talk about. We got some cool things that we're going to do. We're going to spotlight some people in some youth sports. And there's a ton of fucking news that has been happening in the sports world. Recently, I got my own personal news that I'm going to kind of share with you guys as well. But before I get into that, Evo, I'm going to kick it over to you, man. How is your weekend is starting kind of, you might get a little nap in as well because your schedule is absolutely crazy, but how are things going? How's life? How's work treating you? And any plans for the weekend?
Yeah, man, doing that 9 to 5. This is the non-traditional 9 to 5, the 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. So, struggling through it, making it happen. Woke up this morning, did a little repair on the old lady's car. The AC went out. Anyone living here in Arizona doesn't like to drive around without AC in this sort of heat. So got that fixed this morning. Going to do the show, a little bit of yard work, and then hopefully take a nap before maybe even hiking some and going to Apple Annie's this weekend at some point in time, apparently, because I absolutely want to go there and take pictures.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like a ton of fun. It sounds like it was even your idea. Definitely not the lady's idea to go out and take a bunch of pictures at an orchard. Yeah,
it's going to be a good time. And then obviously going to fit in watching some preseason games here, week 3 of the preseason, before we actually get into the regular season of NFL football, which will be awesome.
Very soon. I'm super pumped. I still have a lot of questions on a lot of teams, including my own. There's going to be some questions that we talk about today. If people are going to be on the field or not, we'll get into that because, assault is a motherfucker sometimes. And depending on what side you view it from, it may or may not have been assault. So, but before we do that, we're going to kick off the show the same way we always kind of kick off the show. We're going to get into some youth sports. So youth sports here for me, still, just kind of doing the dad thing. Also, I have been, put in the position where they have asked me to, record game film because I got all the equipment, all that stuff. So, it's fun. I don't like recording. It's okay. I know how to do it. I've watched, hours and hundreds of hours of game film throughout my life. So I know, kind of how to do it, what to look for, but I kind of miss, just kind of sitting there being dad, watching G do his thing. And his team they came out and were absolutely dominant in this last week. So his Menor Silver A team, they went out, put a hurting on, I think it was Wilby. They played 36-6. So they looked very good. Graydon had a pretty damn good game. Anytime you're talking about interior linemen, you don't necessarily want to hear their names too much. You don't want to see them popping up too often because typically that's not a great thing for an interior lineman. First play of the game, though, he goes out, drives a guy 7 yards off the ball, comes off of him, picks up a linebacker, and had a really good game. No miscues on snaps. Did a good job. They were getting consistent yards up the middle all game. And that's kind of not something that you're going to see too many times, especially at the 10-11 age group. In football, you're going to see a lot of kids breaking outside, being faster than everybody else, but they were able to get yards through the air, up the middle, outside. They were really good, and they got another big game coming up tomorrow. One of the reasons why we're not doing the show tomorrow, game tomorrow is at 2 when we would typically do the show. So that's why we made one of the reasons why we made the switch to today. But yeah, it was, he's been doing really good, man. And still trying to work his way onto the defensive side, but has kind of locked down that center spot in the position he's played for 4 years now. He's kind of become very acclimated to that spot and has performed pretty well. Some other interesting news here for the Menor team. The Menor high school team is going to be playing St. Ignatius, massive school, but they're going to be playing in First Energy Stadium. And that's a really cool thing that the high school kids get to do. They get to go play in Cleveland Browns Stadium. Now, St. Ignatius is massive favorites. They are one of the best teams in the state. They are a private boys school, so they recruit. They are able to do that. It's going to be tough for this Menor team, but the Menor team is very, very good. And all the best of luck to those guys going out on tonight, actually. Yeah, tonight, not tomorrow night, tonight, because Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Any experiences for you playing in one of those big stadiums while you were in high school or anything like that?
Yeah. So for Pee Wee football, the Vikings had the Metrodome at the time. We didn't have US Bank Stadium. The younger football, before junior high, we always played our last game in the Metrodome, which was on the old AstroTurf. So it was the shit that just tore you up. So, it was like going from just wearing your normal pads to having to wear like extra elbow pads and all that shit. So it was an experience. It was awesome. And then high school, whenever you made the playoffs, all the playoff games were, at least I believe most of the playoff games, if not all of them, were played in the Metrodome. They still do that now for the Minnesota Twin Cities area high school. I know that at the very least, the last half of the playoffs and the championship are played there at US Bank Stadium. So that was awesome. I really loved getting to do that, as a kid, getting to kind of that feeling of getting to run through the tunnel onto the field type thing. And, there's no one in the stands, but it's still a lot of fun. So yeah, good times.
Yeah. So we almost had the chance to do this. My senior year of high school, it was Cheyenne Central versus Cheyenne East. The first time that the two Cheyenne teams, there are now 3, had ever met in a state championship game. And East was the higher seed. I went to Central, and they offered, East, hey, if you guys want, you can come over and play at War Memorial Stadium over in Laramie, where the University of Wyoming plays. East did not want to do that. They felt like they wanted to play at home, a little bit of home field advantage. It didn't matter. We beat the fuck out of East in that state championship game. I think 27-7 was the final score. So, maybe it would have been better for them going over to War Memorial. Didn't matter. I was very excited that we came out with the dub there. I was a little sad we didn't get to go over there and play at War Memorial, but it was still that's a great experience. I'm jealous of these kids for St. Ignatius and Menor getting to go to First Energy and do this. It would be a really, really cool experience. So before we move on from youth sports, something that, we always do is we talk youth sports, right? Well, if we have the opportunity to highlight some youth sports athletes out there, we want to take that chance and do that. So if you guys ever see any, badass little youth athletes, send us some clips. Send it to the Facebook, Twitter. You can hit us up in the email at lymanlounge@gmail.com. But today we're actually going to do that first iteration of kind of highlighting a youth athlete. And this kid is phenomenal. So I've known this kid for quite some time. His dad and I went to AIT together. I've known him since he was about 5, and he has grown into an absolutely fantastic young athlete. And we're going to kind of,
it's weird hearing you call him a kid, because
I know he is fucking way bigger than me. He's 13 and he's bigger than I am. He is a massive
like
young man.
A young man.
He is
amongst
now
boys.
A young man.
It really seems like.
Yeah. So his name is Malachi Cooper, 13 years old. He is 6'1", 210, and he plays for the Liberty Lions out of Madison, Alabama. And I don't want to talk too much more. We're just going to go right to the tape, and we're going to show you guys what this kid can do. So Malachi is lined up here at the left tackle spot. He is number 55.
In white.
In white. Yep, 55 in white. Just driving him back, pancake. High energy there. Now he's going to be lined up at D tackle. Instant penetration.
There you go, Malachi.
Sack.
There you go, baby.
Here again at D tackle. Gets through, goes to rip the ball out. Ball comes out. They do not recover, but more just penetration up the middle.
Yeah.
Meeting at the mesh point. That's exactly what you want to teach a D tackle. Back at left tackle here. Good little pass block. Gets rid of the kid.
Malachi is.
And then this play is insane to me. This is Michael Orr in the blind side.
He's still driving him.
Yeah, Matt definitely got it. That was fantastic. Like, that is such an impressive thing to do. You don't stop on your block. You keep driving. Ryan Day needs to go out and start talking to this kid before Nick Saban does, because they are down in Alabama. Because if he's going to get D1 offers, I want him in Columbus. I don't want to see him playing for Alabama because it's going to be really hard to root for Alabama. I would because of him. But, man, this kid looks fantastic. So, really cool that we can do that and kind of spotlight a young athlete who's going out there and just putting in fucking work and doing his job. That's exactly what you want out of an offensive and defensive lineman. Yeah,
he's definitely, we've seen Malachi. He's kind of grown up in different stages of his life. He's always been a bigger boy. Obviously been putting the work in, and he's shown to have a lot of physical talent, and he's starting to put that all together on the field. I mean, that tape just from that game alone is showing that both sides of the ball, he's impactful, he's making plays for his team, and those are sorts of traits that you want to see. And then it's going to translate pretty damn well when he gets into high school. That's something that those high school coaches are going to be looking for sure. Like I said,
Absolutely.
kind of a man among boys, it looked like there. And like I said, 13 years old and already doing that sort of stuff. It's really cool to see those sorts of traits and things like that from a young athlete, and really exciting to watch him go forward in his playing career.
Yeah, absolutely. And we kind of talked about this before. We've seen him play back when he was in Arizona, and he's really starting to mature in the things that he's doing. That motor is constant. Now, obviously, we just saw a highlight tape, so we're going to see high motor, but that motor's real high now, and we're not going to see plays taken off anymore. I think he's really starting to come into his own, and I'm very excited for him and his family. If he continues this, I for sure, I see D1 offers in his future. So Malachi, great job, man. We're very happy to be able to put that on the show and highlight you. Keep going, keep dominating, and go out there and keep helping that team win. Go win a championship too. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to win a championship. I think those individual accolades are going to come for you. Keep pushing. Go out there, dominate, man. Go get a fucking chip.
Absolutely.
All right. So I got nothing else on U Sports. You got anything going on out there in Arizona that No. All right.
No U Sports right now. I couldn't even handle it with this shift. So
yeah, that schedule is tough, man. All right. So before we switch over into the sports portion of our show, the national sports stuff, kind of a little personal news for me. Very excited. I am starting school on Monday, going to Cleveland State. I am now a Viking as well, so going hard on the Viking stuff. I'm super pumped, man. I got a nice little job set up as well. I'm going to do a VA work study. We're doing the social media and marketing specialist lead for the Veteran Success Center on Cleveland State. Very excited to kind of get my feet wet, get into that position, and kind of start moving in that direction, because that's ultimately what I want to do. I want to do the media stuff. One of the reasons that we decided to kind of make the move out here in the first place was, well, big city, I can I'm a big Cleveland guy. Our show is focused on a lot of Cleveland stuff. So yeah, I'm super pumped. And yeah, I'm a little nervous about starting class, but also very excited. A degree in interactive media with a minor in sports and entertainment management should hopefully translate into me being better at this. We'll see. I mean, I cannot promise that you will get a better product every week, but I feel like we do a decent job. Hopefully it gets a little bit better for everybody out there.
For sure, man. Congratulations with that position. New, exciting, definitely a different career path than you previously had.
Very much so.
So I can tell when you've been talking about it that you're excited about your new opportunities and kind of a, stepping forward into a new future for you and your family. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. We got a comment coming in already. Carlton Kidd, he was one of our contest winners, and he's not winning any more contests. So don't college students need at least a second grade reading level. Congrats, bro, and best of luck. Solid school choice. I'm excited. I mean, it's close. It's a fairly big school. They have some D1 sports. That basketball team has a chance to make the NCAA tournament. So maybe I'll get some content out there as well. Very excited. So yeah, thanks, Carlton. Appreciate it. But I got nothing else personal news wise. Are we ready to kind of start diving in to the wild shit that has been happening in the world of sports over the last week?
Yeah, let's get it, man.
All right. So we are going to start off kind of simple. We're going to go to the NBA. Not a ton of news. One piece of news that I'm not very excited about because I was really looking forward to see what this kid can do. Chet Holmgren is going to miss the 22-23 season. He's got a Liz Frank injury. I was interested to see how his game was going to translate. He is very tall, very, very slender for the spot that he plays. Now he can step out. He can hit a three. He can do a lot of things. He's that unicorn on the court. It's just, him missing a year, that makes me worried. The Liz Frank injury, especially on these big, tall guys, they tend to continue to have problems with their feet. Hopefully Chet, can get healthy, come back and really put on a show next year, but we are not going to get the opportunity to see that this year.
Yeah, I think most people really were excited to see what he could do. That's always kind of been one of the questions is his slender frame. How is that going to affect him? I don't know if the Liz Frank issue is related to that necessarily. So it's a bummer seeing that being like kind of the start to his career. Hopefully people will be able to maintain that sort of excitement for him going forward, seeing what he can do in a year or so when he's healthy. But an unfortunate loss, especially when, it's not even the beginning of the actual NBA season.
Yeah. And it wasn't even in a summer league game. This was like a rec game that he was playing. I mean, a lot of basketball is good. Too much basketball, obviously, is not great. So, I mean, it sucks. Other news in the NBA, Pat Bev is going to be a fucking Laker. And I'm super excited to watch Pat Bev and Russell Westbrook beat the fuck out of each other on the sidelines. They do not like each other at all. I don't know if Russell will continue to stay there. It's going to be very interesting to see that team dynamic on a team that didn't really mesh to begin with. And now they bring in a guy like Pat Bev, who has had conflicts with Russ, who has had conflicts with LeBron. It'll be an interesting thing to see. I still don't have a ton of hope for this Lakers team going forward. They got to find a way to move Russ and open up some space and get some other guys in there. But it's going to be fun to see, especially if they're on the court at the same time.
Yeah, it was interesting because, Pat Beverly was with the Timberwolves last year, signed an extension. They traded him to, I believe, the Jazz in that Rudy Gobert trade. And then he immediately gets flipped again over to the Lakers for Stanley Johnson and Talen Horton-Tucker.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, right. So it's a good move for the Lakers if you're just looking at straight, like,
talent,
quality of player.
Yeah.
I really like Pat Beverly.
I love his defense. Love his defense. He's a fucking nuisance, and it's awesome.
Absolutely. And at least with the Timberwolves, he was a good team player. He was a good motivator for the team and stuff like that. So in that aspect, I like the move for the Lakers. But then you look at all of the other intangibles with it, particularly the Westbrook situation, and that just doesn't mesh. That's oil and water. And so I think that kind of might spell the end of Russell Westbrook playing for the Lakers. Not that that is necessarily
That's a good thing for the
them.
Lakers.
I didn't, we didn't think he was a fit there in the first place.
No.
So this might be them posturing to, move on.
Yeah, I think for the Lakers, this is a good move. It is a net positive because they're bringing in a 3-and-D guy that will help them with that defensive side of the ball, which they fucking struggled mightily last year. I don't know that the dynamic works, but we've been talking about the dynamic of that team for a year and a half now and how it just doesn't work. So Russ is going to have to get moved. I don't know. I don't think they can cut him. I don't know if anybody's trading them though, because that's a massive salary. Who's looking to make that trade and do a salary dump? I don't know of anybody right now because of the names that are still out there.
Yeah, I don't know that he's worth it for that sort of salary.
I mean, we got a KD out there. We got a Donovan Mitchell. There's a ton of names. There's a ton of guys that are still on the trade market. If you're bringing in Russ, this is a salary dump that you're trying to do. So this is a 2-3 year down the line move if you're making that trade. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to have to find a way to make something happen because I don't know if it's going to work. Maybe they'll hash itself out. The Lakers are not known for being drama free.
Yeah, I mean, they're professional athletes. They should find a way to work amongst each other. If the ultimate goal is to win a championship, but I just don't see it happening. There's too much ego and personality there to really overcome. I think, particularly on Westbrook's side. Maybe it's just like recency bias with me and Pat Bev. But I feel like Pat Bev would be willing to put things aside in order to win, whereas Westbrook is a little bit more diva in that regard, and I don't know that he'd be willing to put it aside. I just would like to have been the fly on the wall when that trade happens and be sitting next to Russ and have him be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, that's got to be the reaction. There's like they brought in this motherfucker.
Yeah.
Gonna have to cancel that call. Oh, actually, I probably should have answered that. Not sure who that was. If you just tried to call back, but it wasn't a number that I knew. And I don't want to get strikes taken because my ringtone, I should probably turn that the fuck down. Don't need any copyright strikes from a phone call. So if you just tried to call the Lineman Lounge hotline, please feel free to call back. Had to stop that though. Otherwise we were gonna get strikes.
For sure.
So. All right. I got nothing else on the NBA. You got anything?
Nope. That's pretty much all for me, man.
Right.
I'm very much so football season right now. So
yeah,
there's baseball that we got to talk about. I know there's some UFC from last weekend that we got to talk about, and we can jump into that so we can get to the good stuff.
All right. Let's get into some UFC. UFC 278, pretty decent card and some very interesting results that came out of this. So we'll kind of start Jose Aldo. The other two fights on the main card. One was exciting. The ladies fight was, it was okay. I mean, it was a stoppage. But Jose Aldo is, I think, about done with his time in the UFC. He has been a fantastic fighter. He was a great, great champion, but he is starting to kind of slip a little bit. And he goes down via the unanimous decision. There's plenty of money to be made out there. I don't know. Maybe he's still a big enough name to draw people in for pay-per-views. I think he's starting to lose some of that luster, though. I don't know if Jose's selling pay-per-views like he used to, no matter where he is on the card. So,
yeah, we talked about this, last time. He's, I believe, like 35, 36. He's aging. He's been in this for a long time. You can't be a competitive cage fighter for your whole life. At some point in time, you do have to hang him up, and that's a really tough thing to swallow when this is probably, pretty much all you know. But he's done some great things in his career. He's got nothing to be ashamed of in his career. I mean, obviously, was a champion for a long time. And just for his health in general, he's made money. I
made plenty of money. Now, probably not as much as he could have if he was fighting in another organization, because the UFC won't pay their fighters more.
That is true. That is true. But like you said, he's not going to be drawing. He's a name that people are going to recognize, but he's no longer going to be drawing a ton of eyes to pay-per-views and stuff like that. Dana White's going to take that into consideration. It'll be tough for him to be, on these main cards, much longer. And I don't really see him dropping to the prelim fights,
Yeah, I don't think he may
happen.
headline like a UFC fight night, but I don't know. Like, you can still put him there for, I guess, I don't know how many more fights he has left in his contract, but I mean, third fight, that's going to be tough for him to keep booking those fights. Now, maybe Dana has some sort of, really good relationship where they have this mutual respect for each other and he won't knock him down. But Dana is a businessman. There's a reason that the fighters won't get more money. Like, he is a businessman through and through, which is also why I pay for every, pay-per-view fight, because I want the UFC guys to get more money, even though that has absolutely no bearing on it, because most of these guys don't get a cut of the pay-per-view based on their contracts. So, yeah. But, all right, so moving on to our next fight, kind of a surprising result in my eyes. Paulo Costa came out and dominated Luke Rockhold for 3 rounds. Luke Rockhold was once a champion, very good fighter, a guy that I really like, and Paulo Costa has had a really weird up and down career in the UFC, missing weights, saying he was, drunk when he was doing his title fight. And he was able to go out there and really take it to Luke the whole time, who then turns around and says, you know what, it's time. I'm hanging him up. I mean, congratulations to Luke on a fantastic career. Once a champion. I was not expecting this. I thought Luke was going to go out there and actually put together a really, really good fight and kind of usher the Paulo Costa out of the fucking UFC based on some of the things that have recently happened with all his fights.
Yeah. I mean, all those questions that you had and that you just mentioned again about Paulo Costa, it sounds like maybe there is some validity to it. The way that he performed was pretty damn good in this fight, where we hadn't seen that out of him in a little while. So maybe that was the case. Maybe he was drunk and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I expected this to be closer too. I would have liked to have seen Luke Rockhold, knock down Paulo Costa, but didn't happen. So, and congrats on the career for Luke. But yeah, it was an interesting fight because didn't expect it to be that lopsided.
Yeah. And what's up? $20 is $20. Our guy. If you guys love watching video games on Twitch, $20 is $20. Is damn good. He's very entertaining. He's also, he's good as fuck at Call of Duty. I don't know how he does it, but what's up, man? We love you. Appreciate you hopping in. And then we'll move on to our last fight of the night. Kamaru Usman versus Edwards. Kamaru Usman basically dominated the entirety of this fight. He was up on every single scorecard. I think he won basically every fucking round. Leon had to go out there and, throw a Hail Mary at the end, get a knockout to win this thing. And that's exactly what the fuck he did. That Hail Mary came in the form of a high kick and put Kamaru Usman to fucking sleep. He was very much rocked. Instantly called the fight. There was no shots needed after the kick. And we have a new champion at that weight division. And I don't think too many people saw this coming, especially the way the fight was going. Kamaru was dominating. He was taking him down. He was getting basically anything he wanted and then just got caught. And that's exactly what can happen in these UFC fights. If you can fucking punch and kick still, you got a fighter's chance in these fights.
Yeah, I expected the fight to go the way that the fight went until the knockout. I didn't think that Kamaru Usman would be dethroned. I thought he would continue to be his dominant self. Leon Edwards obviously put up a good fight against him the first time, but we expected Usman to fix those issues,
refine the game plan, and kind of go out there and dominate.
Yeah, and he was. But that is the thing in the UFC, is that sometimes you're going to have these kicks, punches, these knockouts where it's out of the fighter's hand if they catch that blow. your body's physiological reaction might be to get knocked out. And it doesn't matter how much grit you have, you can't prevent that from happening other than just not getting hit. And so all it takes sometimes is just one good shot. And that's what Leon Edwards got. That kick right up to the throat chin area, knocked him the fuck out, fell back, lights out, game over.
Yeah.
So, this obviously we're going to have another.
They're running
another
it
fight.
back for sure. I think Kamaro's going to get an immediate rematch. I don't think Leon's going to fight anybody before he fights Kamaru again. But are you worried? Because I am a little worried based on how badly he was knocked out. Are we going to start to see some of those after effects? Because listen, you can fight for a long, long time in the UFC. Once you get knocked out, it can kind of change the fighter that you are. That chin is no longer as good as it once was once you get that knockout. Are we worried that Kamaru is going to start to be a guy that we got to worry about?
We really won't know until we see him again. I'm not worried yet because I think that he's young enough that he can rebound. But to your point, sometimes this happens where a fighter, will be on the up and up. And as soon as they get that one knockout, depending on how devastating it is, it's not a mental thing where it's like now they're tepid going into a fight. No. It is just their body.
A physiological reaction to what happens when you get kicked in the fucking face or you get punched in the face.
And we've seen this happen before with other fighters. It's talked about a lot by previous fighters who have since retired and stuff like that. Like you can see a change happens in a person. That would be really disappointing to see that happen to Usman at this point in his career. I mean, it'd be a bummer for him for sure. But as fans of the fight game, it would be really difficult to see because Usman's, one of those most dominant fighters out there. Love watching him go out there and compete. My gut says that's not going to be the case, but you really don't know.
You have no idea until you're back in there and you get hit again. Yeah. We love you too, big guy. We pump you as much as we can, as often as we can, and we love that when you hop in here. So
and we're still waiting for that 24-hour stream, buddy.
Yeah.
Which he's got a whole bunch of giveaways and everything that he's going to be having going, and it's going to be a fun time. We are definitely going to pump that up and let everyone know when that happens.
Yeah, as soon as that date is released,
participating. So
I want to hop in as well. I'm going to have a student's schedule, so I should be able to hop in there, play some fucking games, drink some beer.
I'll take some time off of work if need be.
I'm not going to skip classes, at least not yet.
I'm sure it'll be over a weekend, but
okay, there we go. So yeah, when that happens, count me in. I want to hop in. I want to play some games. I apologize for my piss poor performances that are sure to come when that happens because I am not good at that game. I am so bad.
The new Call of Duty comes out here in a couple months, so it's a fresh start for everybody.
Oh, that's right. That's when you need to trade Kyler.
Oh.
Yeah, that's when you need to trade Kyler off your fantasy team because
he'll be a little bit too
shit's
busy.
Going downhill.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so we'll be looking forward to that next fight, Usman and Edwards, for a third time. And as of right now, I'm still going for Usman,
and I'm still going for Usman. I still think he will come back, but the nature of the knockout worries me.
Yeah,
like when we talk about those guys who've done it, like Cody Garbrandt was fantastic, dominant guy, and then now the chin is gone on Cody. Like he cannot take those shots anymore, and he is no longer anywhere near a title contention. Was it who fought fucking Jake Paul? What was the was that Rashawn Evans? No, it was. Who the fuck was the
no?
Man, we're gonna have to hit the Google machine.
Nate Robinson, Asan Gibb, Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley. Yeah, Tyron Woodley was in the same boat. Could not take the shots anymore after being a champion. Like it happens. So it does make me a little worried, but I hope Kamaru comes back because he's one of the best we've seen, especially at that weight division. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to slide over Major League Baseball. And so some big news coming out of Seattle today. There's a possible extension for Julio Rodriguez that could be upwards of $400 million. This guy is a rookie this year, and they're already talking extensions for him, which I mean, is good and it's bad. It's great for the organization because they can lock up a young franchise guy for a long time, get through the arbitration years, and then you know exactly how long you got him. And then if for some reason some things happen with the team, you know you can trade him for however many years of controllability. It's great for Julio Rodriguez because now his salary's going through the roof. But depending on how long this deal is, it locks him down for a very, very long time. And that Seattle organization has shown that they will throw a ton of money into free agency and try to make this team better, but it doesn't necessarily always translate. This is another year they did that. They are in the wild card contention right now, but we have seen them throw tons of money out there because they are a massive market and it just not work out. So for me, I like that Julio's getting his money. It's good for the organization because they're locking him up. But anytime we're talking $400 million, that means we're coming with a 10, 12, 15-year deal. And it worries me because we see these deals like a Mike Trout, who is now locked in for basically the remainder of his career with the Angels, who are perpetually dog shit, even though they have the two best players in the world. And this guy, Julio Rodriguez, is a fucking superstar. He is going to be a superstar. I don't love these massive, long, crazy deals that are happening in baseball because I don't know that it's player friendly other than the money.
That's the argument that I would have, is that when you're talking about $400 million, it almost kind of transcends anything else. Like, I hate to say it, but it's like you almost don't care about winning championships at that point.
Yeah.
You don't care about anything. You have set up your life, your kids' lives, your grandkids' lives, generational type money like that.
Yeah.
It's like I would sell my fucking soul almost for $400 million, you know? Because like at the end of the day, like if I have to be a sacrificial lamb to support generations of my family, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, and Seattle's not a bad city. It's not like you're living in the fucking slums. You're not out in the middle of goddamn nowhere, middle America, slaving away for a team that is not getting any TV coverage. He's still going to be a star out in Seattle.
And I'm sure that his representation understands exactly where you're coming from. And that's why I feel like it will probably be on the shorter end of that spectrum. We're talking, I would feel like more like 10 years and maybe even 8 if they can get it worked to that, because they have to be arguing back with Seattle like, hey, you are getting this guy at the very beginning of his career and locking him down for the better part of a decade. If you get him for the better part of a decade for that sort of money, then that at least allows him some flexibility towards the end of not necessarily his career, but I mean, potentially his career. You never know in sports because injuries happen. People wear down at different rates. So him getting this sort of money, it seems like that could be a balance if they are able to work out something like an 8 to 10 year deal. And at the end of the day, like I said, that sort of money it kind of transcends most other things, most other worries. You know, if someone were to offer me $400 million at this point, that's like, I don't care what it is. Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah. Yeah. $400 million is so hard to turn down. You can't, but I mean, he's been fantastic this year. He is, I think, leading the vote for AL Rookie of the Year. I mean, he shouldn't be, but that's just me being a homer for my guy, Stephen Kwan, who, you know, leads in average OPS, fucking basically every goddamn category, and he's getting no respect for it. But Julio's been fantastic. He was a superstar in the home run derby. He's going to continue to be a star. I don't like these giant long ass deals, but when a team is saying, hey, we'll give you $400 million. Would you like me to sign that in blood? I don't care how you do it. Like that you can't turn down that money. I mean, unless you're, you know, Juan Soto, who says, nah, I'm fucking.
I mean, you know, the players, that is the thing too, is that they are going to have an ego. They're going to bet on themselves sometimes. And if he believes that he can show more, earn more, then, you know, more power to him. It's just it's a gamble. It is definitely a gamble.
Yep. All right. So elsewhere in the world of baseball, a guy who's going to the Hall of Fame basically as soon as he's eligible. One of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time. A guy at the end of his career that we didn't think could reach a certain milestone. I think he is gonna fucking get it. Albert Pujols over the last month has absolutely caught fucking fire and now is only 7 home runs away from 700. That Cardinals team is very good. He hits in a nice spot in that lineup between probably the NL MVP and one of the best players in the NL, and I think he's gonna fucking get there. I didn't know that he could do it, but I think over the last week he has 5. And now he's only 7 away, and I didn't think there was any chance that he had of making it. If I could gamble in Ohio, which I fucking can't right now, and not until January 1st, I'm putting money on Albert Pujols to get the 700 home runs by the end of his career, because he looks like a young man again, and he is hitting balls out that normal Major League Baseball players cannot fucking hit out of the park. He took a high fastball at Wrigley and put that bitch in the seat and just absolutely teed off on it. Guys don't hit balls that high in the zone out of the yard, but a 42-year-old Albert Pujols, who's been doing this for a long time, did it. No problem. Looked like it was fucking second nature. Do you think he's going to make it? And how excited are we for this home run race that he's on by himself to get to 700?
I think it's absolutely within the realm of possibility. We actually had $20 is $20 pop up here. How many more games for him to hit 7 left? And I'm sitting here looking at their schedule.
Let me do the math real quick. All right, so they are at 125. So 125, 37 games for 7 home runs.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely within the realm of possibility the way that he's been hitting. Can he keep that up? I don't know, but I mean, he's a man on a mission right now. So yeah. It's definitely within the realm of possibility at this point. Whereas talking 2 weeks ago, not so sure. But when you're on this sort of a tear, like you're rooting for the guy, of course. You want to see him get that 700. So yeah, absolutely a possibility.
Yeah, I think he's going to get there, man. 37 games to hit 7 bombs. If he can stay hot for another week or 2, I think there's very much $20. I might be hitting you up to place a bet for me. Hey, football season is coming. We're going to talk bets, even though I won't be able to place them. I'm going to use Evo, and $20 is $20 to place my bets for me in another state. I'm not sure about the legalities of that, but also I don't give a fuck. So
allegedly,
yeah, just like I pay for every UFC fight, I may or may not be, sending money into a different state to gamble on sports for me.
No, nothing about it.
Yeah. I think he's going to get there, dude. I really do. It's going to be super exciting to watch. And what's crazy is that Cardinals team has a guy going for the Triple Crown, and that's not even the conversation we're having. Goldie is having a absolute fucking monster year. He is, I think, first in batting average, second in home runs, and tied for second in RBIs. Has a legit chance at getting the Triple Crown, and we haven't seen it in a decade since Miguel Cabrera did it. But the entire conversation is about Albert Pujols. That Cardinal team is going to be very dangerous when October hits, especially if Albert can stay healthy, because that makes that lineup much deeper than people were expecting. I don't think many people were expecting this late resurgence by Albert Pujols. We talked about the fact that it probably wasn't going to happen, but this is going to be a very, very good team, and there's some really exciting players on that team. Paul Goldschmidt going for a Triple Crown and Albert Pujols going for 700. Those are massive storylines in the world of baseball, and right now only one of them is getting talked about.
Yeah,
So.
I mean that Cardinals team is looking real good. You know, they're 6 games ahead there in the National League Central. So, and obviously they got everything kind of clicking right now to have some interesting storylines.
Yeah. All right, so we are going to stay in baseball, and we're gonna take a look at the standings right now because I'm very excited about the way the standings look.
Yeah, the Twins are streaking, dude. The Twins are
Yeah, the
streaking.
Twins are streaking
in the
in
opposite direction of what I
fucking
want.
direction.
Yeah, they have lost 6 in a row as of right now, and they're 4 games back of the Cleveland Guardians. They are tied with the White Sox, 4 games back in the Central. So we got a heated race for second place in the Central.
Your guys' playoff potential or your playoff chances has plummeted in the last week. You guys are down to like 19%. The Guardians are 70% right now to make the playoffs. They are very good right now. They're very young. We had a massive 2-game series against the Padres. Took both of those games. We're playing Seattle now. That's another massive series. We need to do well there. Drop game 1, but this young Guardians team is still performing. They have young guys stepping up. 4-game lead. Nobody expected them to be here. I sure as fuck didn't, but they are so fun to watch. I love this brand of baseball. It was actually called on Twitter, and this is a thing that's been going around. They play a disgusting brand of baseball. I'm here for the disgusting brand of baseball. If a disgusting brand of baseball is playing defense, pitching, and making contact, sign me the fuck up. I don't want to see the 3 true outcomes. I don't want to see walks, strikeouts, and home runs all fucking game. That's not exciting baseball to me. I like home runs just like everybody else does. Chicks dig the long ball. But you know what I like more? Fundamental baseball. Hitting behind runners. Fucking stealing bags. Playing defense. Give me that. This team is I'm so pumped. You guys are going the wrong way. Those pitching woes that you guys have had are continuing to happen even with the moves at the deadline.
And the bats ain't going either. So it's not working on all sides of the ball right now. I don't know what else to say. I guess I'm so preconditioned for this sort of
let down.
It's you get the little bit of a tickle from the team to get yourself to a half chub, and then you get blue balled. It's Minnesota sports. It tends to be how it goes. So we'll see. The season's not over, but we really have to put an end to this.
The slide has been tough.
Maybe playing the Giants tonight will do something, but I mean, I don't fucking know.
Giants are a pretty decent team too. They're still fighting for a wild card spot, I believe. Let me check these standings one more time. Giants, I guess they're kind of playing for a wild card spot. They're 5.5 back. They're not a bad team, but they're not necessarily contending right now.
Yeah,
but
they're 25 games back in the NL West, and
they're with they're the Dodgers division. They got no chance of winning that.
Still a ways back from the wild card. So
yeah,
but
the fun part of baseball is getting ready to start right now, man. The dog days of summer are about over, and it's time for some like high intensity, getting ready for playoff baseball stuff. And I'm here for it, especially because my team is performing fantastically. So, all right. Anything else? I got nothing else. Bryce Harper's coming back tonight. I mean, I'm glad Bryce is coming back. One of the stars of the game, finally coming off the IL. But other than that, I got nothing else baseball wise. That I wanted to talk about. I know you're more of a passive baseball guy. You got anything, any storylines that have popped up that you wanted to talk about?
No, not in particular.
All right. So we are going to hop into the NFL. Now, do we want to hop into the games or do we want to talk about the storylines? Because one of these is going to be a little more upbeat, kind of exciting. One of them is going to be a little bit more doom and gloom to start based on some of the shit that has come out in the NFL this week.
I mean, I personally don't have a ton to talk about with the games because it is preseason week 2. And we're at least I'm already moved on to preseason week 3, which is basically not the starters except for Tom Brady. And
hopefully Jacoby Brissett, because we still have not fucking seen him yet.
yeah, and just looking forward to seeing how the rosters are actually going to shape out here, for the final cutdowns, which are looming, and
soon.
the actual week 1 of the NFL regular season. So with that, I mean, I'm down to get kicking into all these other storylines.
All right, so we're gonna start with Aaron Donald. This is something that has been talked about like ad nauseum for the last 24 hours. Aaron Donald and the Rams are having a joint practice against the Bengals, team that they beat in the Super Bowl. There maybe is some bad blood. There's a little bit of chippiness, and Aaron Donald is an absolute fucking animal. He can do basically anything he wants on a football field at any time. And that includes ripping off the helmets of 2 Bengals players and swinging them like they are goddamn sledgehammers at Bengals players in the middle of a joint practice. Now, we have seen something like this happen before.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph peed a little bit when he saw this video, probably.
Yeah,
because you got Aaron Donald, possibly the scariest man in football, dual wielding helmets, like the final boss in a video game, like not the guy you want to go against. It was a pretty intense video.
Yeah, it was. When I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is so bad." Like, it's not national TV, but the fact it's made
national
camera,
TV now.
It has now, and it's disturbing a little bit. Like,
yeah,
he was trying to kill people. He was
pretty much.
Yeah, he was trying to kill somebody.
In any other setting, that's assault with a deadly weapon.
Yes, 100%.
So the fact that it happened on a football field, that's where the questions start to come into play. Okay, when does this have to be legally looked at by the police?
Because there were conversations about what Myles Garrett did to Mason Rudolph, if there were going to be some legal repercussions because of it's essentially assault. So those conversations happen with Myles Garrett.
If a football player went out on the field, if a football player went out on the field with a baseball bat intending to hurt someone, it's not that much different than with a helmet. I mean, the helmet happens to be in the field, but either way, there's intent to assault someone with a deadly weapon, which is why it was brought up with Myles Garrett. And obviously, primetime game and all that surrounded that. That's why it kind of blew up. And then we saw this big suspension come down for Myles Garrett.
Yeah, indefinite.
So now we've got the same situation going on with Myles Garrett. It's not like the league wasn't there. The league has officials at every practice, especially joint practices and stuff like that. It's caught on tape. It is now national media headlines and stuff like that. So even though it was, small scale there, it is absolutely blown up to the national level. And the question is going to be, what's going to happen now to Aaron Donald, arguably the best player in the game.
I would be willing to bet he's number 1 on the top 100 again, because he has been for a while.
Yeah. And so can the NFL afford to be like, no, this guy's suspended now?
We're going to suspend the greatest player in the NFL.
Right. It shouldn't. That's another one of those things, like when we talked about, Deshaun Watson and stuff in the past and him being a quarterback, like it shouldn't matter position or anything like that. There should just be a ruling. But the NFL is business and we know how it is. And same way,
massive market in LA, best player in the league.
Yeah. So we were kind of joking about this yesterday. We expect the Rams to dole out their own suspension of 1 game. He can't play in the 3rd preseason game that he wasn't going to play in anyways. And
he will get an undisclosed internal fine from the team that nobody will ever hear about. It'll probably cost him $5,000.
I mean, there's definitely potential that this could reach higher. We could see Goodell come down and do something. I'm not expecting it, but crazier things have happened. And obviously this whole fracas was pretty crazy to begin with.
Yeah. Both teams, everybody on each team was in there fucking going at it. And you allow, an incredibly dangerous person. Like Aaron Donald does not fuck around. Like he trains going against shock knives in the offseason improve his handwork. Like Aaron Donald's not afraid of shit. He is a man among boys in the NFL. It's wild that it happened. It's worse that it was caught on tape, and now it's making national news. Browns fans are absolutely calling for a suspension. We have no beef with the Rams, no beef with Aaron Donald. However, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Myles Garrett got indefinite. Aaron Donald swung 2 fucking helmets multiple times, so he should be getting indefinite as well.
No,
it's not going to happen.
Refresh my memory. Did Myles Garrett actually hit?
He did make contact.
Mason Rudolph?
Right in the fucking head.
And I don't know that there's been anything fully put out yet whether or not contact was made in this scuffle or if it was just a lot of wild swinging of the helmets. So the potential for danger and stuff was there. But the teams have, like, even you go to the Bengals head coach, Zach Taylor, and he said it just got a little scuffly. Like, that's a little bit more than a little scuffly, but I mean, even he's downplaying it. They called the practice right after that. So it seems like both sides are trying to downplay this as much as possible. But I mean, everyone saw kind of what happened. So, I mean, these teams play this weekend against each other. Absolutely. Facebook user, a light ruckus.
Yeah.
Donnybrook. A slight disagreement between grown men. I don't know, man. I absolutely get where the Browns fans are coming from with this. But it ain't gonna happen.
It's not happening. There's no fucking way. They're not going to suspend the best player in the league in the biggest market in the NFL. It's not happening. Like, do I think that that's right? No. He should probably get suspended for something. It's not. It's
Which
not
sucks.
happening.
It sucks for all football fans, really, if he does get suspended, because he is truly a joy to watch as a football player. I mean, he's so impressive to watch. Like, we're talking about possibly the best, if not the best, football player on the field at any position. And
probably, I would put him second greatest
lineman,
defensive player of all time. Second greatest defensive player of all time, behind Lawrence Taylor.
I mean, I think that there's an argument to be made that he's better than Lawrence Taylor. He's definitely up in the echelon of those greats.
Yeah.
So it's neither here nor there. We'll kind of continue to monitor this. If something pops off in the next week where he ends up getting some sort of reprimand from the league or the team, we'll make sure to let you all know. But as of right now, it seems like the rug has been lifted and the broom is sweeping everything as hard as they can underneath. Yeah. And just based on the player involved, not expecting a whole lot to happen.
Yeah, me neither. Me fucking either. But all right, so we're gonna go from one bad thing to something incredibly worse. So reports came out late last night. We were talking about all the Aaron Donald stuff in our text, and then a news story came out. I'm gonna fuck his name up, but I don't really care. Bill's punter, Ariza, the punt god, as he Ariza, as he is referred to, is being accused of a gang rape while he was a player at San Diego State University. This is
gang rape of an underage girl.
Underage girl,
17-year-old high schooler.
17-year-old high school girl who was intoxicated at a college party. You literally cannot get much of a worse story situation than this. I think he should be suspended immediately.
He won't be. He can't.
I know he won't. I know, because of the new conduct policy.
Yeah.
They have to have some sort of evidence or.
No, not even that. The NFL's conduct policy basically says that if the alleged action takes place before the player was even drafted, that he does not fall in NFL conduct policy for any of it. Because the incident happened before he was drafted, he was not part of the NFL at that point, and the conduct policy does not cover it at all.
The bill should cut him then. This is okay. So listen, I get it. He is probably a generational punter. You don't talk about punters the way you talk about this guy. He is a generational punter. His first punt in the fucking NFL went like 83 yards. But this allegation is damning. It is disgusting. And even, okay, so say it wasn't rape. Say it was consensual. He had consensual sex with an underage girl who was intoxicated at a college party. Like, none of that sounds like consent. It's all of it sounds entirely wrong. And you're not, I mean, I don't know how you justify any of these actions. Like, we went through a lot of sexual harassment and rape prevention classes while we were in the military. Okay. People get training on this all the time. If she's intoxicated, she can't give consent. If she's not of legal age, she can't give consent. Like, all of this is bad. There is not a single part of this story where you could be like, oh, well, maybe. It's all entirely bad. Now, the Bills are going to they're going to take the brunt of this one way or the other by wasting a draft pick on a punter who you immediately have to cut, or by keeping him and dealing with the PR fucking nightmare that is going to come with this.
Yep. Well, so I'm willing to sit back and wait and kind of see what ends up coming from this. The Deshaun Watson allegations and stuff and everything surrounding that makes it super easy to take a quick jump and can, immediately indict someone for something that may or may not have happened. I'm reading through the story here. Of course, Ariza's attorney has come out and said the accusation is false, that they have independent investigators that have spoken to witnesses from the party where this allegedly took place, who contradict the statements made by the alleged victim. The victim said that that Ariza was aware of her being in high school, that he had handed her a drink, but that she did not see him pour it, and that there is a belief that it might have contained other intoxicating substances, such as like a date rape drug besides alcohol, that she was in and out of consciousness. She remembers moments as the men took turns assaulting her. Her nose, belly button, ear piercings had been pulled out during the acts, and that she was bleeding from her vagina. Sorry for the direct terminology, but it's easiest just to be direct with this. Ariza's attorney has come out and said that they believe it's a shakedown, that now that he's with the Buffalo Bills, that they're looking to get money out of him. He's representing Ariza for a potential criminal case, but there's not a criminal case against him yet, and it's just a pending civil case at this point. Days after the party, or just a day after the party, Jane Doe, which is how she is listed in this because she was a minor at the time, reported that she was raped to the San Diego police, who opened their investigation. No arrests were made. Suspects had been publicly identified. The detectives recently submitted their findings to the district attorney's office to determine whether or not charges should even be filed. So if there's not a criminal charge, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes again.
Well, especially with all the Deshaun shit. Yeah.
Yep. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more testy for me, is that according to the suit, in a call to Ariza from Doe, arranged by the detectives from the sex crimes unit at the San Diego Police Department, Ariza acknowledged having sex with Doe and that she should be tested for STDs. When she asked a more direct question about whether or not they had had sex per the detective's request, Ariza changed his tone and said that he didn't remember anything that happened that night. All right. So in the same phone call, he both said that they had sex, and then he said that he doesn't remember anything. That's the part to me where it's kind of like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? Either you did or you didn't, unless he also was fucked up on some sort of substances. It's really weird that he would say that she should be checked for STDs.
Yeah, that doesn't come out of your mouth unless you've had sex with somebody and you're worried about, the potential of things being there. And then
at the end of the day,
immediately say that
she said that he was aware that she was in high school. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Either way, whether you know or don't know, you're having sex with a minor.
It's statutory rape. Yeah.
Yeah. She would have had to have, we've seen this before where a minor has a fake ID or something like that and promotes themselves as being of age. And then the person that is the raper kind of gets off on that statutory charge because they were led to believe that. Yeah. But who knows if that's the case. Right now, again, it is just a civil suit. against Ariza and 2 other people from San Diego State. Apparently, the Bills were notified by Jane Doe's attorney. Let's see, said here that they were notified in July, end of July, when they emailed the team's representatives, so the Bills were aware of it. And despite that, the Bills ended up cutting their other punter on the squad that was in competition, Matt Hack, on Monday. And then all this information comes out a couple days later. And Hack was already signed by the Indianapolis Colts to replace their punter who just went down. Sorry, McAfee fans. I guess he's not going back to run it back with the Colts. I know that was a big conversation. Either way, I am kind of that firm believer in innocent until proven guilty. I can't say that I truly believe Ariza's innocence in this situation.
That conversation on the phone is very weird, and it leads me to believe that, there's probably some lies in there.
Yeah. So I'm not willing to say immediately like Bill should cut the guy, so on and so forth, but the Bills need to be doing their due diligence.
Yeah, they got it. They have to immediately dive into this and fucking investigate as hard as possible.
Yeah, the NFL and the Bills need to look into it. Again, the NFL can't really do anything. If he's found guilty of a criminal charge,
he's going to jail.
He's going to jail.
So
yeah, he's going to jail. Civil charges, nothing will happen to him as far as the NFL laying down some sort of a judgment against him,
unless the Bills decide to cut him because of the.
There will be no punishment from the NFL or no required punishment. The Bills absolutely could cut him and move on to something else. It sucks because Matt Hack was a pretty good punter. Don't get me wrong, on the field, Ariza seemed generational talent as a punter, but it kind of trumps the situation. It doesn't matter if you're a sex offender. So the Bills do need to start looking at the punter market. The Vikings just got rid of theirs, though he wasn't that good. It's a shitty situation. Again,
for all parties.
I feel like the bad guy saying I want to wait and see how this plays out, innocent until proven guilty, because when you hear allegations like this that sound so heinous and so fucked up, obviously, I try to put myself in the shoes of like if I was that girl's father or something like that, I'd want the guy dead.
Yeah.
So, but we've seen far too often where there's accusations against people just trying to get money, things like that. It happens.
It happened last year with Dalvin Cook.
Where he was, had assault charges trying to be pushed against him and stuff like that. When it was a girl came into his house and he defended himself. These things happen around professional athletes because they have a lot of money and they don't protect themselves as well as they should. Not saying that this is the case right now. It's just this is so new. There's
a lot of things that are going to happen out there. Unfold here.
Yeah, no criminal charges or anything like that have been put out yet. But obviously it is a very touchy subject. So I would not be surprised if the Bills were like, hey, we just cannot have this right now. Yeah. Sorry.
This is a Super Bowl contending team. Everybody's darling to win the Super Bowl. And we're going to bring in he helps them win for sure with his leg. But is the production from one punter to this guy enough to deal with that fucking PR nightmare that is coming with it?
Yeah. I mean, look, my Vikings drafted Jeff Gladney in the first round a couple years ago, cornerback out of TCU. We released him the next year because he had assault charges come out against him. And they just were like, hey, we don't know how this is going to turn out. We just can't have this. We're sorry. Ended up that those charges and everything got dropped. Everything got dropped against him. Ended up going and playing for the Cardinals. Tragically, he died in a car crash shortly after the season. But he looked like that first round pick a little bit more with the Cardinals. Maybe not as good as a first round pick should be. But either way, on the field, he looked like he had some potential after the fact that all of his legal troubles were kind of set aside. But that's kind of that is professional sports in some way, shape, or form, is that it's a gamble on anyone that you draft. The Bills, if they weren't aware of what happened when they drafted this guy,
they were made aware in July, so they knew going in that this could potentially come out. Now, obviously, that's after the draft.
Yeah.
But they knew that something was potentially coming, and they still made the choice to cut the other guy and keep Ariza because his leg is unbelievable. He has probably the greatest punt leg that anybody's ever seen. There's a reason he is nicknamed the punt god.
Yeah.
Like,
And so, I mean, maybe there's other ways to have gone about this for the Bills. I, again, don't know everything with the NFL, but they have, it's not like the commissioner's exempt list, but they can put them on like not a non-football injury type thing, but I believe there's another basically thing where you can be like, hey, this guy cannot actively participate, but I think that he has to actually have charges against him at that point in time or something. I don't know. Sucks for the Bills to be put in this situation. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, hey, you're generational talent, possibly, but we can't have this.
Can't do it.
And then if at the end of the day, only the civil charges are out there, no criminal charges, he probably will play in the NFL for another team. Because I can't imagine him
not getting a contract somewhere. Yeah.
I can't imagine him going back to the Bills after that. No. But I mean, he's realistically the one putting them in this situation. So we'll see how it goes. Again, it's another one of those we have to kind of sit back, wait and see. Obviously, it's not the type of thing that you want to hear about. It's pretty nasty, brutal if all the claims are true. And if the claims are true, then obviously I hope that him and the other guys are punished to the full extent of the law.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
We'll just have to wait and see.
If this comes out to be true, fucking lock his ass up and throw it a key. Like I got no remorse. No, like you wasted your life in that moment and you don't deserve the rest of it. Like I got no remorse for that. I'm a big proponent, innocent until proven guilty. It's when you're in the public space, that's not always the way it works though. Like it's just not. And it's not fair, but that is the reality of your life when you are in these situations. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot more that comes out. We'll keep track of this and we'll give you guys updates as they come out as well. But let's get off of the negative fucking news from this week of the NFL. And let's go to something positive. I'm not sure how positive it is, depending on who you're a fan of. Fuck, Tom Brady's back, baby. The GOAT is back. He is back in practice. He's ready to go. He fucking sucks at singing. And that is why he is finally back at practice, because he lost on The Masked Singer. That's the story going around, is that Tom was away.
That's the conspiracy
doing the
theory.
Singer,
yep.
And
that's the conspiracy theory. He said that he was away on a family vacation, enjoying time with his supermodel wife and kissing his kids on the lips.
On the mouth.
I mean, obviously,
I'm glad we got that at the same time, by the way. I'm glad we were right there.
We'll end up seeing what happens with The Masked Singer, I guess. I'm not a Masked Singer watcher, but producer Amber loves The Masked Singer. I have to watch it every once in a while. Not a fan, though. Gronk was on it at one point, which also makes me think that maybe Tom did it because his boy Gronk was on there, who was awful. Fucking awful. I mean, Terry Bradshaw was on it too.
Yeah. So regardless, no matter what he was doing, Tom is back. He's going to play in this third preseason game. The Bucs are not in a great way though. Like they have nobody to protect Tom. That offensive line is completely fucking decimated. Tom cannot be excited about that. He's gonna have to stick it out because there's a lot of things that were circling around Tom Brady and allegations that came out with tampering. He's going to have to come out, play well, prove he's still the fucking guy. He's not falling off that cliff like Max Kellerman has been calling for a decade. And I mean, I'm excited to see Tom back. I'm starting to hedge my bets though on the Bucs. I thought the Bucs were going to the Super Bowl for sure. The injuries are starting to pile up on that team though, and it makes me very nervous about what Tom can do, even though they have plenty of weapons and Julio is starting to get a little bit more in rhythm with that offense. And
one of those big injury concerns along the offensive line was at their center. They've had multiple centers go down, something that we've talked about in previous weeks in both the Bucks talk and with both
Bucks,
of our teams,
Browns, Vikings, there are plenty of teams that need a guy.
And JC Tretter has been out there. That's been the name to talk about because former Brown center, obviously, top 5 in the league, guy that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, my new GM, is going to be well familiar with, and we need a center. Now, you have a potential championship caliber team there in Tampa who needs a center. JC Tretter's out there, and no one's going after him. And so we've been talking about, is it his knees? Possibly. Well, JC Tretter, he retired this week. He retired coming out basically swinging some
Congratulations punches. On a fantastic career, by the way, before we get into why this happened. But JC, thank you for all the things that you did for the Browns. Fantastic career, man. You were awesome. I don't care if you never fucking practice. You showed up every day on Sunday, did your job. You were top 3 in the league, pass blocking and run blocking. One of the best centers in the league. Now, go ahead, because what we're about to talk about, we've been alluding to a little bit on the show. We've definitely talked about it in our texts.
Yeah. So we had talked about how, maybe teams are a little cold on him because of his knees. He didn't practice, like you were just saying, because knee issues and stuff last year. Yep. Well, when Tretter retired, he came out and said, hey, I retired, and I fully think that it's because I'm the NFLPA president, which we have talked about recently, saying teams might not be talking to him because they don't want the NFLPA president in their house, and like he's being blacklisted. He came out and said no teams requested my medicals after week 8. I think he said he didn't have to have his knee drained anymore. It was just more of a precautionary thing, not having him practice, that his knees are good to go, which, players are going to say that they're good to go healthy. Yeah. Whether or not he's 100%, I'd be willing to bet that he's not 100%. He's had a lot of beating on his body.
Give me an 85% JC Tretter, though.
Yeah.
Over, 90% of the centers in the NFL.
It's not like in this offseason he just became decrepit, He's still the guy that he probably was at the end of last year, which is a damn good center. All right. But yeah, he came out and said no one requested his medicals, no one gave phone calls, anything like that. His knees are football ready, that he fully believes that being the NFLPA president is the reason why he didn't get any calls. Going so far as to say, and telling Sports Illustrated that he had targeted the Vikings as his most wanted 2022 destination. He wanted to come play for my team. He was the guy that I was clamoring for my team to go out and get. He said he grew up rooting for the Vikings, but Minnesota never returned his call. That, his agent said contacted the Vikings. They never returned his call. And that, basically if the Vikings ever had a plan beyond Garrett Bradbury at center, that apparently Tretter wasn't in the mix, which sucks for me to hear as a Vikings fan, because it's like he even came out and said he wasn't going to take league minimum, but it wasn't that high above it that he was willing to accept to play. He understood where he's at in his career and the concerns floating around him injury wise. So for us to not even test the waters, to do a workout, to request the medicals on those knees, does make it seem like it very well could be this NFLPA issue. Now, Kevin O'Connell in his press conference yesterday said, hey, I saw the story. I never heard about that. As far as I know, he never contacted Kwesi. He never contacted me. I don't know who he contacted in the team, but not aware of it. Didn't come out and say like whether they're interested or not, obviously. And that's something that O'Connell has to say. But
they absolutely have to say it after it came out.
If that's the case, that, he wasn't going to look at because of the NFLPA presidency, maybe I feel like the league and the teams overblow that. You should be putting out the best product on the field to win, because that's going to trump all. But we know that players have been blacklisted.
Yeah, 100%.
Colin Kaepernick has been blacklisted. Junior Gillette, former defensive lineman for the Saints, has now filed a $300 million lawsuit against the NFL and several teams in the NFL because he feels like he has been blacklisted based on comments saying that he won't play for slave money. I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like Tretter's not the type of guy that's going to go out and do this, but I feel like he has a case as well, saying like, hey, I'm representing the players and the players union, and I'm getting blacklisted because of that. When, again, top 5 center in the league. By all accounts, can still play.
Oh, yeah.
And there are needy teams out there. 3 needy teams out there of a center, if not more.
Yours,
that could
mine,
use his
and the
services.
fucking Bucks. He could go chase a Super Bowl down in fucking Tampa.
Now, when we talked about this yesterday, if I was the Vikings, I'd be like, oh, you must have called our old number. Now that we know, let's get you in the building real quick for a workout. So that way, A, he doesn't try to file suit against the Vikings.
Well,
but B,
go ahead.
B, then maybe they actually see like, okay, his knees are good. We'll look like the good guys here signing him. I mean, if the league actually has fully blacklisted him, then the league's going to be pissed against the Vikings for that. We're probably not going to get as many good calls from the rest this year.
Yeah.
But I would still
JC's
take him.
JC's retired, but do you think he's actually retired? If somebody calls him, is he coming out of retirement and fucking playing?
That's the thing is I would love to hope so. I would love for the Vikings to announce tomorrow that they have signed JC Treader to a 1 or 2 year deal to bring him in here and be our starting center, because I'm going to feel fantastic about the season at that point. I already feel good about our season right now. I would feel phenomenal if we brought him in, because then, hey, we end up looking like the good guys compared to his claims about, being blocked because he's the NFLPA president. He said he wants to play for our team. That always gets me going. Like, I would love to have us bring him in. But Mike, we had the conversation yesterday. We don't know how long it's been since he decided to retire. When he wasn't getting these calls closer to training camp and stuff like that, he might have been like, "Yeah,
was
this
he
is it,"
still
and
in?
just
Was he
announced.
still in football shape? That's the thing.
Yeah, he could have just announced this week that he's retiring, but have had it in his mind that I'm retired already. And we've seen this with multiple offensive linemen, in particular. When they retire, these guys go from being their 300-pound selves to fit, trim, fucking.
Joe Thomas
jacked.
is the perfect example of exactly what you're talking about. He knew for a while, he had not announced it, but he knew he was going to be done, and he started trimming down. Like at one point, because I used to listen to the Tom and Hawk show. Now it's called the Tom and Hawk show. They had a little, I guess, dispute with LeBron's what the hell is it? Undisputed little thing. So now they had their own show. They had to change the name. Great podcast. If you're a Browns fan, that's a great podcast to listen to. Those guys are fantastic. Love those guys. Both of those guys. But Joe Joe knew that he was done because he didn't have, it wasn't in his knees anymore. The tricep tear tore him down, and he knew, and he was getting very, very skinny. I mean, he is a fucking monster right now. He looks like he can come back and play tight end, and I'd sign him tomorrow if I'm the Browns. Not that we don't have good tight ends, but because I know Joe Thomas, and he is a fucking Cleveland legend. Probably the second greatest Brown of all time behind Jim Brown. So I understand that worry, but when we were talking about that, I was like, yeah, I mean, he could have had this in his mind, and then he finally made the decision. He's leaning out, or he was doing whatever. But as I got to looking at that statement a little bit more, you don't make that statement and directly call out a team in the NFL who you have some ties with. If that's the case, I don't think. I think he wanted to play, and I do believe that his status as the NFLPA president probably played a major factor in him not getting looks. For some reason, owners, GMs don't necessarily like having the NFLPA guy in their building, because now you have eyeballs from the NFLPA inside your operations. Okay. Now players can go and tell the NFLPA, hey, this is happening. Now there's an investigation. But if things that your organization is doing are maybe a little outside the rules, and it comes directly from the NFLPA president, that holds 1,000 times more weight. I think GMs, owners are a little worried about that. Now, I don't know if the coach is necessarily worried about that. The coach wants the guys that can play and help him win because his job depends on winning. I believe Kevin O'Connell when he says, I never fucking heard about this, because that's not necessarily his job to hear about JC Treader wanting to come there.
I'm sure he went to Questi Adolfo-Mensa and was like, hey, is there anything
Hey, what
to
the
this
fuck
after the fact?
did this happen?
Yeah.
Did he fucking call us?
'Cause
Because Bradbury is garbage and he is a top 3 center, top 5. I mean, he graded out as a top 3 guy last year. And we need a fucking guy at center to really make this thing go, because your offensive line is starting to come together, except for that spot at center because Bradbury can't get the job done. So he's got to ask that question now. And then, but he has to be in lockstep with whatever Quessy says, because they're both brand new.
I take O'Connell as a very genuine guy. He will kind of not necessarily talk circles when he's in his media, but he's going to toe the line of the team as he should. He's not going to say anything derogatory. Penis in my butt.
Okay, so hey, while you deal with the penis in your butt, dude, if I don't take a piss, it's going to get messy in here.
Absolutely, but he comes off to me as a genuine guy. He will walk around a question as he needs to in order to not cause any extra drama. And that's fine with me as far as the head coach is concerned. Quessy might be a little bit more cutthroat behind the scenes than we know. And maybe their office did receive information, but they probably receive things from every player out there. The fact that JC Treader is as good of a player as he is, and they didn't do any due diligence on him, that does bother me. Again, I would love to see the Vikings go out and be like, hey, let's remedy this. Let's send us your medicals. If you are willing to now come out of your retirement after a week, come in and do a workout, because he easily could fit onto this roster right away. And we still have time for him to come in and get ready for week 1, September 11th versus the Packers. I would love to see that. JC Treader, play for the Packers. You don't ever hear me talk positively about Packers. This is one of those cases that I would absolutely be fully on board for him coming in and starting right away for my Vikings on September 11th. Now, Mike, since you're back, I actually got a couple pictures here that I'm going to share to the audience of some of our former offensive linemen who have made the cut. So like we were talking about with JC Treader, if he actually has been retired for a little bit, it doesn't take too long for these guys, because they are athletes. Even though they might be big fat dudes, they are athletes with a lot of muscle underneath that
here's
fat.
the thing. Most of these guys are doing what they have to keep weight on. They're not they're not naturally fucking 300 pounds. They're naturally probably about 260, and then they fucking do what they have to put on the weight, because that's what you have to play that position.
Absolutely. So first one here, this is Matt Burke, former center for my Minnesota Vikings and for the Baltimore Ravens.
Runs fucking marathons now.
Yeah. Less than like a year after he got out. Now, he didn't look that big here in this picture. He was a little bit bigger when he was with the Vikings. But I mean, obviously the guy's cut, jacked, lean, looking fucking good, right? Awesome.
I'd fuck him.
I'm not going to go that far.
Well, I mean, hey, Julio Rodriguez money, I bet you would.
Correct.
Yeah.
Next, we've got your boy over here, Joe Thomas. All right.
It's insane to me, because I didn't think I thought Joe was naturally a bigger guy. He's not. He did that competition, the Rocks competition, where they're doing the fucking like the obstacle courses and shit. He is an animal. He is so big. I cannot say enough good things. I could sit here for the next, I don't know, hour and fucking just jerk Joe Thomas off onto my face, because he is he is the second greatest Brown of all time. He is an absolute legend. He is a surefire. He's walking into the Hall of Fame. There will not even be a conversation.
Yeah. So if Treader is on that path where he's like, I'm retired, I'm going to, get my health in order, he might have already started that weight loss for all we know. I don't think so. I feel like, because there had been rumblings where Minnesota sports media has actually talked to Treader's dad, and Treader's dad was saying, oh yeah, he wants to come to the Vikings and stuff like that, as recently as like a month and a half ago. And him coming out saying that, I want to play for the Vikings and stuff, naming them specifically. Like, I mean, for me, the door's not closed. As a fan, I'm saying, yeah, let's fucking kick the tires on this thing, see what we can do. But the fact that no one has contacted him yet really leads me to believe that the NFL and the owners have all come to an agreement of like, hey, we don't like how he's been as president. We don't want him to be part of our, organization anymore. He's already had his career. Let's just let him gracefully leave or something like that, which obviously he's not leaving gracefully because he's calling them on their shit. That truly, to me, I believe that is the situation that's happening. Whether or not the owners would be willing to back off of that blacklisting will be interesting to see, because obviously with Junior Gillette coming out with a $300 million lawsuit, when you're starting to affect teams' money and owners' money, potentially, because they're going to have to get lawyers and shit now, which they already have them on retainer, but they're going to be having to pay them more to take care of this shit. That is going to affect their pocketbooks. Maybe they're going to be like, hey, if we get any inkling that this guy might join or might have his own suit, let's just give him another run. And then if that's the case, the bidding war starts. But if he's already said he wants to come to my Vikings, by all means, buddy, we want you.
Yeah, well, we want him back in Cleveland too, because we're down to our third center. So
we'll see what happens with that. You got any more NFL news that you want to go over, Mike?
Let me. Did I have? Oh yeah. So this is something a little more related to the Browns. So there's obviously been tons of conversations about potential trades of running backs, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson, and I think at some point somebody's going to get moved. I don't know that everybody can stay. And the common theme, especially with Browns fans, has been, if we're going to trade him, we got to find another receiver. We need some more receiver depth. I've seen some things float around, sending him over to Philly, and we're getting Jalen Reagor back. I'd rather not do that ever. But a guy who is kind of becoming available is Denzel Mims. Not getting any looks with the Jets, not getting any playing time there. And that is a guy that I would be very comfortable with bringing in to work as a 3, maybe try to work into a 2 spot if he can overtake Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't know if he can, but that gives us some much needed depth. It allows us to maximize the value that we have in that running back room. I think it's interesting that Denzel's not getting any looks. Obviously, he's had some injury history, but he should be working in that Jets first team, at least as a 3rd, I thought.
You would
obviously
think,
they
and
go out.
they aren't giving that look right now. And he has requested the trade. His agent has put out that they've requested a trade. I don't know if I see the fit. I mean, look, Kareem Hunt is better than any running back on the Jets team right now, but they did just spend a high round pick on a running back. I think they're probably happy with their running back room where it's at. So I don't know if they would make that move.
Well, I don't fucking bring in Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, that sounds horrible to me. And I think that Philly is also happy with their running back room. I mean, the group that they put out last year did pretty well. They were
they just had an injury there though.
Who went down?
Remember, was it Scott? Who the fuck was it? Let me hit the Google machine.
I mean, you also are going to have like the rumor mill is going that Kenyon Drake is going to be released from the Raiders. They're really happy with how their rookie running back, their 7th round pick, I believe, is looking. Maybe he's not a 7th round pick. Maybe he's like a 5th or something. But they're happy with how their rookie's looking. They're looking to offload Kenyon Drake. So typically what teams will do, especially with more notable veterans at this point in time of the year, they will release those reports like, hey, we're going to release this guy to see if they can get any teams to bite on a late round, 5th, 6th, 7th round pick just to get the rights to this guy, because they would like to bring him in, not have to fight everyone if he hits free agency. So that's going to be out there as a possibility too. I still am banging the table that Bill should go out and make a trade, get themselves Kareem Hunt from you guys. Because I think that would put them over the top, and it would be worth even like a 5th round pick or something like that to, send over to you guys, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm the Bills GM.
So Miles Sanders is the guy that got banged up.
Okay.
So, I mean, I could see them trying to make a play. It helps Philly. Jalen Reagor, I don't believe helps us. I think that we got guys, at least 4 guys Well,
Yeah,
3.
I feel like he's a wasted roster spot. That Rager isn't even a lock to make the team for Philly at this point.
I don't think he's a lock at all. I think that there's a reason that we're seeing him so much in those Philly games. Like we just played Philly and he was playing second, third quarter. Like he is definitely not a lock to make that team again. And I don't think that helps us at all.
Mhm.
I don't care that he's a former first round pick. You look at the production. Like,
yeah, it doesn't matter at this point. We're years in. And I mean, I guess the same could be said about Denzel Mims. You know, Rager injury issues and then lack of production.
But Jalen Rager can't fucking catch.
Yeah, Mims is, you know, obviously he's had the injury stuff that has had him sitting out, but you still would think that you see them trying to work him in more. It doesn't seem like they're even giving him the opportunity.
Yeah.
So there might still be some meat left on the bone there with Mims. I don't think that he would be a bad get for you guys, but I don't know if they'd be willing to do the trade for Kareem Hunt.
Well, yeah, so they just got Brees Hall, so I think they're going to want to get Brees in there and kind of feature him. And
yeah,
I mean, Brees looks good.
In the Jets, I mean, they made some good moves this offseason. But
I mean, if you're Kareem Hunt or you're Dearness Johnson, you don't want to get traded to the fucking Jets.
No. And I don't know that Kareem wants to go and be part of a duo again because he would have to be splitting time with Brees Hall.
Yeah, you'd have to get the rookie some looks. I think
if
Buffalo
you
makes
spend
the most sense.
If you spend a high round pick on,
I don't know that the Browns would do it. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't mean
No. If you spend a high round pick on a running back, the intention is to get the most out of them as soon as possible. We've seen in the NFL that young guys can come into the league and be impactful, especially part of a platoon right away.
Especially for 4 to 6 years. 4 to 6 years is that perfect window.
So you don't want to waste any of that time where you have the cap savings of a rookie like that. You don't want to waste it by having to be part of a platoon with a, you know, well cemented starting caliber running back in Kareem Hunt.
Like we had the same thing with Nick Chubb. He was not getting carries. He was behind fucking Carlos Hyde until we traded him, and thank God we did.
Yep.
But
other kind of bigger news, I guess, in the NFL, Dallas's left tackle Tyron Smith ends up tearing his hamstring off the bone. He is getting surgery. They're expecting him to possibly return by December. That sort of a hamstring injury is fucking very rough. And that's been, you know, Tyron Smith, considered potentially the best left tackle in NFL for a while, has had a lot of injury issues since that. And, you know, it's part of the game where some of these guys, like we said, will deteriorate and they'll deteriorate pretty quick. Bodies just can't keep up with it anymore. That's big for Dallas because, you know, their offensive line used to be the best in the NFL. And now we're just seeing the guys age out, injury, stuff like that. So
that unit's not great anymore. They need bodies. They need a lot of youth infused in that offensive line. They have not really invested too heavily. I mean, they go out, they got a draft pick this year, but I mean that for a unit that was as dominant as they were, we're starting to see your body is not going to hold up that long. Like Joe Thomas, I'm going to go off on him, is an anomaly for what he was able to do, playing over 10,000 consecutive snaps. That is not a normal thing. Like linemen miss time, their knees, their everything on their lower half gets beat to shit. And we're starting to see that happen to those Dallas guys. And I mean, it sucks for them. I never wish injuries to, you know, take you out of the season, hinder your career, but they are starting to get old and their bodies they can't keep up anymore.
Yeah. With a hamstring tear in general, that is really rough. With it being ripped off the bone as well with that tear, that is very, very bad.
He might not come back from that.
They're talking about that December return. I think that's
the most asinine thing that I think I've heard in quite some time. There's no way you're coming back from tearing your hamstring off the bone.
I don't know that if you get him back in December, that you're getting a player that you want to put on the field. Like, sure, maybe he can start doing workouts and stuff in December, but like you're not going to be getting the Tyron Smith that you expect if you get him back in December. At that point, it's like it's almost not worth it. Like, let the guy rest, recover, and hopefully you'll have a left tackle
detrimental
next year.
to his career to get on the field that quick. Like if I'm Tyron Smith, there's no way I'm coming back by December. Especially if you think you got a couple more years left in the NFL. You got another 2, 3, 4 years left.
Yeah.
You're not doing that.
We're not too sure about how good of a team Dallas is going to put out this year anyways. So by December, they might not be in the hunt anymore.
Cowboys fans think they're still them boys. I am not sold on that team at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dallas Cowboy fans always think that this is their year. They're a diehard fan base, but they haven't done it since the 90s. So
yeah, they're not doing it this year either.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm not even sure. I don't know. I don't think they make the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying. By December, I don't think that they'll be in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
Especially with this injury. Not that Tyron Smith was the guy that he was before, but at least he's a strong left tackle. And you don't have that. We saw how that affected them last year when they had better replacement players on the team who are now not there anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty devastating loss there for Dallas.
Yeah, that I'm not high on Dallas, and it sucks for Tyron, but yeah. Do we have any other storylines? Because I do want to talk about the games just a little bit. Some of the things that we might see here in preseason week 4, because we got games on today. Did you have any other storylines?
I mean, the only other storyline that I really have kind of involves my Vikings and potentially our preseason week 3 game here. So preseason game 2, quarterback play was pretty atrocious. Kellen Mond did not carry over any of the good stuff that he had from week 1. And Sean Mannion is Sean Mannion. So the Vikings went out like a day later and made a trade, got themselves Nick Mullins for a conditional 2024 7th round pick. If he is not rostered this year for some reason, then we just got him for free, essentially, because that 7th round pick doesn't go into effect. I fully expect him to be the backup quarterback for the rest of this year.
I would say I like Nick. I think that he is not a high quality backup. He is somewhere mid to low tier backup, but he is a definite backup.
I mean, he's had 17 NFL starts. I believe he's only had 5 wins in those starts, but in some of those games, he didn't
perform badly.
He's had, I want to say, like 5 of those starts, he had a quarterback rating of over 100. 6 of those other starts were quarterback ratings of over 85. And when you're talking about a backup quarterback, that is exceeding expectations of what you're looking for. Some of those games in San Francisco, specifically when he was with them, he was putting up very good numbers, like 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 200 and something yards. So he's a guy that you don't feel absolutely horrible going out there and starting a couple games for you. I know that
he's better than both the guys you got.
Yeah, absolutely. So me personally, I would like to see the Vikings, Cousins 1, Mullins 2. I am fine with being done with Mond personally. If you want to put him on the practice squad, go for it. The worry is that someone's going to try to snatch him off there, and I'm honestly okay with that. I haven't seen enough out of Mond to make me think that he'll even develop into a backup quarterback at this point. And Mannion, I'm all on board with, if we do roster 3, Mond will be the 3rd, and Mannion, he can go to the practice squad in one of those veteran spots, but because he's Kirk's boy, and
he'll
an extra quarterback coach
on the practice squad, because now they can keep him on the practice squad based on the COVID rules. And so,
like, if that ends up happening, cool. I don't know. I'm happy that they saw there was an issue. They went out and made basically a move that is not going to hurt the team whatsoever as far as draft capital. And it's a solid guy that, in the rare case that Kirk Cousins could go down, because again, he's only missed time once for COVID in regular season. So I would feel good with Mullins going out there and having to play a couple games if he needs to. I'm glad that we made that move. The question still is, and O'Connell yesterday in his press conference said he doesn't know if he's even going to play him in this game versus Denver, because he's just now only a couple days getting into learning the system. And I still think that he probably could be better than Mond or Mannion going out there. But they're like, hey, he's a veteran. He's been in the NFL for a while. He understands the game. He just needs to, we know what we have in him pretty much. He just needs to learn the playbook. And so rather than throwing him out to the wolves or something like that, they have talked about just stashing him, letting Mon and Mannion go out to see if they even want to roster either of them, practice squad or otherwise. And I'm kind of fine with that. I would personally, yes, I would like to see Mullins go out and play. I completely get it if they don't play him. And they said that they're going to bring him along on the trip, but they have not decided whether or not he's going to play or not on Saturday.
Yeah, well, and the stuff that I want to talk about was about my Browns, so that works perfect. We are finally going to see Jacoby Brissett take some fucking snaps in an actual game setting. I thought we were going to see him last week. It didn't happen because they had the joint practices. They counted that as, enough reps for him to count as a game. I don't like that thinking at all. I want to see him in a game situation because practice, even if it's a joint practice, it's still very, very controlled, much more so than a game will be. So I'm excited to see Jacoby get out there, see what he can do. There was some concern about his hand. Defender got too close. Looked like Jacoby hit his hand off a helmet. Kevin Stefanski was fucking furious about it. One of the big, I've talked about it a couple of times. Like when you get into the NFL, you have to know how to practice. You absolutely, because if you don't know how to practice, they'll fucking cut you in a heartbeat, especially if you're not one of those for sure top 40 guys. If you're fighting at the back end of a roster spot, your ass will be cut if you don't know how to practice. So we'll finally get to see Jacoby, and then hopefully we'll see a little bit more of the starters because we have not seen very many of the starters out there. This last game, I thought we were going to see some starters out there. We did not because of the joint practice. So almost none of the starters really, were out there. I want to see this team, at least for a quarter of football, play with their guys. Hopefully everybody makes it out injury free. And I want to see kind of what the product is. This offense is going to change dramatically from Jacoby to when we get Deshaun back. I think every Browns fan knows that. Every Browns reporter is talking about that. But I want to see what Jacoby can do. I want to see this defense at full capacity go out there, and if they can still be one of those top 5 units in the NFL like they finished the season last year. So there's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to seeing. And finally, because I could not fucking believe it didn't happen last week, that it's going to happen. And we get a very nice cupcake fucking game here. We get the Bears. We'll probably see their starters. They can't block. Justin Fields is fighting for his life to get 2 seconds of protection back there. So we'll see. Hopefully the defense go out there, be very dominant, see Jacoby go out, move the ball, be efficient. We don't need him to light it up. I just need him to be efficient because the team around him is so good. But yeah, man, I'm thankful that we're finally going to get to see some live bullets for Jacoby and see what this offense is going to look like for at least the first 11 games, because there's been a lot of conversations about what system are we running. With Deshaun, we're not going to run the same, 2-3 tight ends, multiple backs like that, because Deshaun is a guy in the past we have seen go out there 4 wide, shotgun, light it up, able to do things with his legs. Jacoby's not necessarily that guy. I was very surprised to see Dobbs make as many plays with his legs as he did in our last preseason game. Looked like a fucking stallion out there. But we need to see our starter get some live game reps. I understand joint practices. I don't like them. I fucking hate joint practices. I think they are kind of they lead to more worse things than good things in the NFL, as we could see with the Rams and the Bengals and Aaron Donald swinging helmets. But yeah, I am my eyes are going to be on. I don't know that I'm going to be able to watch it because game is tomorrow, 7 p.m. We got a game. We got a birthday party. My mom's birthday is tomorrow. We're going out for her dinner tonight. So it's going to be a busy day, but I'm going to go back. I'm going to watch. I'm going to see what Jacoby does. Because, I mean, there's still a lot of question marks about what this offense is going to look like because we have not seen them really be a unit at all unless you were at, training camp every fucking day or going and seeing, joint practices, which I'm not even sure if well, they might have been open. At least one of them was, but so that's where my eyes are this weekend is seeing what Jacoby can do, how this offense is going to look going forward, because I have a feeling it's going to look very much like what we saw last year with Baker, a lot of 2 tight ends. But that's where I'm at.
All righty. Well, I got nothing else, man.
Yeah,
Unless you want me to talk about the Vikings punter.
No, I don't. I'm tired of talking about punters. I would have. Don't get me wrong. I could talk about punters because Pat McAfee's my dude. I love what Pat McAfee does. I loved his swagger on the field when he was playing, even as not a Colts fan. I love his podcast. I've said it before. He is kind of my inspiration for wanting to start and do this and kind of have that, outlandish, fun fucking podcast, not 2 guys just talking and, being able to say whatever the fuck you want, being unapologetically yourself. And that's something that he does. So I could go on about punters and all that shit, but yeah, we're not doing that.
I'll say this real quick, just because I got to put it out in the ether on the airwaves to say that I said so. Vikings kicker Greg Joseph has had a phenomenal offseason, phenomenal training camp, and has looked really good as a kicker so far, which is surprising. And it scares me like I need to knock on wood or something like that.
Has he been kicking from more? Has he been kicking from farther than 45?
He's been hitting them pretty fucking far, 60 plus. So his holder is our punter from last year, Jordan Berry. Jordan Berry, bottom third of the league punter, not a very good punter. So I'm not a fan of Jordan Berry, but he's the holder for it, and obviously that situation has been working. We released Jordan Berry in favor of UDFA punter. I don't even remember the guy's name at this point. Ryan Wright, big boy, fatty.
Hell yeah! Hey, give me a fucking thick ass punter.
Now through camp, the misses that Greg Joseph has been when Ryan Wright has been his holder. And it's only been a couple, but that doesn't mean that it's Ryan Wright's fault, but it might be.
It might be. If you ever listen to Pat McAfee talk about the whole holding thing, because he didn't know how to hold at all when he came into the league, lied to fucking Bill Polian, widely known story. Fucking Vinatieri sent his ass to a holding camp. That there are those things out there, and
if we see a drop off in Greg Joseph's kicking, because again he has been pretty much lights out this offseason in training camp. If he starts missing some, that's where I'm pointing to, is that situation right there.
Not the fact that he can't hit from,
That's like, I will be the first to trash on Vikings kickers because it's been an issue for a while. He, like, all the media and everyone has been on his dick about he is banging long kicks. He is looking confident. He is having no issues at all. And no PAT misses. And then all of his field goal attempts, he's hitting them from, 55, 60 with some still left on it, which is surprising. And so, there's a lot to do with the holder in that. And it seems like the only holder issues that kick issues that have been with this new guy, Ryan Wright. So if we start to see some misses in the game, I'm going to look at Joseph a little bit, but I'm also going to be looking at that holder situation.
The operation between the snapper, the holder, and the kicker has to be perfect, basically on every goddamn snap.
Yeah. So just getting that out in the ether, so that way I've got something to call back to and bitch at.
That way you're not like, fucking Greg Joseph. Blame the goddamn holder this time. Yeah. I'm sure that's what Greg Joseph is going to say too. Wasn't my fucking fault. Laces out, Dan.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. Well, you got anything else to go over this week?
I don't think so, man. I think we hit the majority of the stuff we wanted to talk about. We got really cool spotlight on the youth sports. Producer Amber's already been making TikToks and she's putting out content. Thank you very much, Producer Amber, my lovely wife, for doing that while we're sitting here bullshitting. Appreciate all that you do for the show. We hit every major sport in the United States because soccer is not one of them. We got NFL, NBA, MLB. UFC is a bigger fucking sport than soccer is. So we hit it all. I'm very happy with the way today went. A lot of energy, fucking good conversation. It's always good seeing you, man. We text back and forth every once in a while, but I love when we get the opportunity to get on here. bullshit back and forth and have this interaction like we used to have back there in Arizona. So thank you for all your help, everything that you do. And shout out to all the people who, tuned in. If you commented, we appreciate it. And if you guys want to, comment on the show, we're live. We'll put it out a couple hours before when we go live. If you want to interact with the show outside of when we're live, you can go to the Facebook, drop some memes, ask some questions. We got the Twitter at Lineman Lounge. If you got any youth sports athletes that you'd like us to highlight, which is, I would really enjoy that part of today's show, being able to do that. Hopefully we get some more that we can do. Send us a DM on Twitter, send it on fucking Facebook, hit up the email, linemanlounge@gmail.com. But yeah, I was very pumped with the way today went, and I'm excited for fucking next week because we'll be right there on the precipice of NFL football starting, and then we're also going to have college football kicking off, which I am very excited for because my Buckeyes they're winning the fucking chip this year. They're winning the fucking chip. Alabama can lick my asshole.
They will. They will. That's actually a tradition down there.
Yeah. Well, I'm not their cousin.
Cousin.
All right. Yeah, but Ryan Day, go take a look at our boy Malachi Cooper before Nick Saban swoops him up, because I don't want that to happen. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We love you. We appreciate everything you do for us, and we're gonna get the fuck out of here. I still got a night full of activities to go. Mom's birthday. Shout out, Mom. Love you. Happy birthday. But yeah, guys, we'll be back next week. As soon as we figure out what time that's going to be, we'll let you know. But thank you. See you.
Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional.